next question for you is about Quora. And we just got a Quora expert in the room. We're here with Nawar. Nawar, could you tell the Shakers they live in that camera? Could you tell them about yourself?
Sure. Where to begin, right? I'll start from when I was a child. I guess I started a company, worked on a couple different things, and through college, kind of always worked for myself. So I started an internet technology company, and we're currently, I guess we really started focusing on something in January, and it's about 10 months later now, and we're at, a couple, I guess, in the billions of transaction mark.
Wow.
Yeah, so we got to see it go from zero, from everyone giving it a naysay boo to the billions, right? Speaking of Quora, I started answering a bunch of questions on Quora, and that's how a bunch of it began.
Yeah, so Shakers, I'm particularly interested in Mike and Nawar here.
Hey, dude.
Nawar. People have to meet and stuff. I'm particularly interested in asking Mike and Nawar about how they were able to develop credibility by answering questions on Quora with just rock star answers. And we'll get there, but Nawar, first I wanted to hear about the first time you tried something entrepreneurial. Could you tell us about that?
Jeez, probably when I started making money when I was really young, maybe when I was like that tall. And my mom worked at a flea market actually in Florida, because that's where I'm from. And so I started like peddling toys, and I would make $20 a day. And when you're like 4 years old, $20, it's like $1 million. That's like, you're like, whoa, I could buy so much McDonald's. Whatever, right? So
I could buy like 6 cars, and then you realize, no, I can't buy any.
It's
cars.
a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, I would say like that was a long time ago. And then when I was in college, and then I did a bunch of stuff throughout high school.
What did you do in high school? Did you sell candy?
I did sell different types of candy.
Did you have a van?
I was not that person. Just going into it, and eventually I learned people incorporate companies, do this sort of thing like legitimately,
Just sell candy out of a van.
Well, I don't know. Someone may. Candy trucks.
Yeah.
It's the next big thing.
That's
You never know. In Candyland.
that's
Disney
kind
World.
Well, I feel like that kind of there's like the fried PB&J trucks, and like there's like the popcorn trucks. That's
popular in Amsterdam.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
All right, so Shakers, to get us started on this discussion on how to raise your credibility and be a rock star and let people know about the knowledge that you already know about on Quora, let's start with, can one of you guys tell us what Quora is for those of us who don't know what it is?
Yeah, it's the best answer I've settled on is it's basically if you took Yahoo Answers and then like threw Elon Musk on there, and Elon Musk was like answering questions about the universe. Although I don't think he really answers any questions on Quora, but if you took somebody of that caliber and put them on Quora to answer those questions about the world and the universe and so on and so forth, that's basically what Quora is.
I wonder if Neil deGrasse Tyson's on Quora.
He should be.
Yeah, right?
Anybody who has like anything remotely interesting to say should be. I love Quora. I'm obsessed with it. Sorry.
Now Quora is social too, right? You can see which of your friends.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So it has that like social element, and it has a feed sort of similar to Facebook, but it's. I feel like that's not what it's kind of centered around. It could probably do a better job about that stuff, but I think it's awesome.
So tell me a little bit about each of your backgrounds and when you found Quora and when you decided to start answering questions on it.
Well, for me, I first found out about Quora. I was probably in college at the time, and it's probably right when it was getting started. And then from there, I didn't really do too much with it. I knew that was like the immediate reputation I had heard about right when it first began is like all the VCs and all the like the legitimate people who know what they're talking about around Quora. Mm-hmm. And so that was the first mark of reputation that I heard it had, and it indeed had good questions. Like if you go to Google stuff, there's going to be really good answers on Quora. It'd be like Stack Overflow for everything else. If you that might be a developer way to think about it.
That's a good analogy.
I first discovered it probably not not around the time when it started, because it started, what, like 2009, or it's been around even longer. I don't think they make any money, which kind of blows my mind. But
Do they make money?
I
Maybe ads or something. I'm not sure.
no, they don't have ads. But you know, maybe like a couple of years ago, and I've always kind of loved it because I would just go onto the site and you know find these answers from like Jimmy Wales about Jimmy Wales, or you know, some other like big name like VCs and entrepreneurs about like here's how to start a company, or like here's how to like deal with like your wife hates you or whatever, you know, like they have answers to everything, and I always found this brilliant. I didn't start answering questions until probably about like 30 days ago. So but I'm since then I've just become obsessed with it. It's such a cool platform.
So just 30 days ago, you started answering questions. Nawar, how about you?
Well, I probably started answering questions maybe a long time ago. I don't really recollect, but I started kicking in my answers probably in the January timeframe when I started answering questions that were relevant to kind of like this little niche of domain expertise that I had. A bunch of people were asking questions around tracking on the internet and things like that, what's going on, and no one could answer it. And I was like, I know the answers, so I just started answering them. And what I noticed is some people, you know, were mentioning things that I felt they weren't like specific enough, or they were kind of like cop-out answers, like, oh, everyone knows that. Well, maybe not everyone, but I felt like everyone should know that. But like, it's like, here's the inside scoop. And so I started like providing like the inside scoop. And so all my stuff started getting like thumbs up to the top, or I guess maybe like pluses or whatever it is. I forgot the exact thing.
It feels so good.
Votes,
like
votes
you
is
look
what
at
it is.
like notifications.
My stuff got, exactly. Voted to the top of all the questions.
Hashtag balling. How do you write? So do you guys have a formula for like how to write an answer that's just out of this world?
You know what? I think the first step is to always be authentic and to never try to like go in with an agenda besides trying to answer the question as best as you can. You know, but then again, maybe that's just my strategy. So I guess it depends on your strategy. What's the desired outcome, right? So I think knowing that the desired outcome is in mind kind of informs you on like what you're going to do as you're answering the question. I mean, one approach would be just to kind of like just say something, get in, get out. Another approach would be to be like, you know what, I'm going to provide everything you need to know, plus examples, plus references and links to other resources. And another example might be like, you know what, I'm just going to try to sell you my thing.
Yeah.
So there's some combination from anywhere in between, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it varies on the type of question. Like, is it something niche shakers, or is it something like less niche? Is it something general? Like I was using Quora today trying to figure out, we're publishing our first book tomorrow, and I'm like, how do you change a Google Doc into an EPUB file now in 1 second for free? This is 2015. I don't expect to have to wait longer than a second and definitely get it for free.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it depends on the type of question, I'm sure. And Mike, I think you have a different strategy. A slightly different strategy for answering questions.
Yeah. So I kind of cheat a little bit, to be honest. So a lot of the content I've already written in, you know, about like on my blog or something like that.
And what's your blog, for those of us who don't know?
MikeKilcoyne.me. But
Wait,
like, I'm posting less and less on there because I'm moving to my other assets or whatever you want to call it. But so I'll basically take some like the best content or answers or whatever that I've created on my blog, and a lot of it's like really good, but the problem is I don't have a huge audience yet. You know, like on a lot of my blog posts don't have a huge audience. So Quora is another way for me to kind of take that content and repurpose it in a way to, you know, address some of these answers and to answer things. So yeah, so I mean, I definitely kind of cheat on that end, but I found, you know, a lot of that stuff, because I'm tapping into a totally different audience. It's a really effective way to like put a message in front of people that really resonates with a lot of people, because I write like in a really brutally honest way, and I tap into a lot of my own experiences, and I tap into like actual research and so on and so forth. and I found on a platform like Quora, that's stuff that really, really resonates. So it's been a really effective way for me to just kind of, just reach a whole new audience.
Yeah, so you're hinting at my very next question, but Shakers, I'm kind of curious, what are the benefits of answering questions on Quora? Why would I want to tell you 4 and go out of my way when you ask, what is 2 plus 2? Why would I take my time to do that? And a benefit you're hitting at, Mike, is exposure.
Yeah.
Are there any other benefits to answering questions on Quora?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just interesting. I'm so obsessed with like the platform now, ever since I started kind of like making it a habit to actually be involved on it. Like you'll find that some of the most basic questions, like how do I work hard, will have like the most...
How do I motivate myself?
Exactly. How do I motivate myself? How do I work hard? Like all these really basic things. And sometimes people will like misspell the question. Then they'll have like 100 answers from all these really smart people. Like, this is what you should do. and it's like...
None of it gets done.
Exactly. And it just blows my mind that there's this kind of subset of the internet that is investing so much of their time and energy in providing like value and just their own insights to something that most people are not going to see, at least until Quora gets much bigger. But I've always found it's just amazing, and the smartest people like in the world, I feel like, are on it.
Yeah.
Maybe not all of them.
Yeah, I would say it's like, to me, I believe the internet's part of the golden age. So to me, the golden age is like freedom of information, freedom of art, freedom of all. So basically a neutral, free internet that's open to all. And the one part of that is actually having freedom of information, which is essentially what hackers do, or at least originally, right? So free copyrighted software, pissed off Microsoft, all that sort of thing. And so to go out there and answer questions, especially on really tough subjects, and provide like the inside scoop, here's really what's going on, right? In all these really controversial places, to actually tell the truth, be authentic, and just be like, here's how it works. Here's what everyone else won't tell you because they want to give you the rosy story or whatever. To give that information, put it out there, helps people who, let's say, are on the onset of that and just have a fresh perspective, or let's say thinking about trying to research something because they're not yet as wet in the subject matter as, let's say, the person who's sharing the content, if they want to look at themselves as a content sharer, right? Maybe they're a storyteller, who knows, right? At that point, it really allows other people to discover information, and then from there, like, make better decisions and improve their lives. So it's really a tool for good in that respect, right? I mean, we all use it to better ourselves. And so that's really interesting, really powerful. And then from there, there's these residual effects of what you get out.
Yeah.
So for me, like, just by answering questions, being honest, and giving the inside scoop, that began my first initial set of traffic of people going, oh, well, that's interesting what you're working on. And then suddenly that became, something came out of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. I used to use Quora or I didn't use Quora. I would Google stuff I was trying to find an answer to, and Quora would pop up, and I'd be like, yeah, one of the results. I'll check it out, and I'd come across people like Mike and Nawar here, Shakers. But it's fascinating now that I'm on it too, and also aspiring to answer questions like you guys. It's really interesting to hear about it.
Another thing, I mean, just to kind of like latch on to your comment, anytime, as far as like the personal value for me, anytime I've had somebody, even when I've had somebody be like, this is like a crock of bullshit, go fuck yourself, which has happened on some of my comments, but conversely, anytime I've had somebody say, I opened my computer and I found this answer and it was like just really helpful because your brutal honesty is great and it's really eye-opening and so on and so forth. Anytime you see that, you're kind of like, that's cool. Like, I'm giving back based on my experiences and based on my knowledge in a way that is ultimately valuable to people. And even if it's not like you're teaching people how to like work with Stack Overflow or repo their Git forks. And,
Yes, repo their Git forks. I
do that. Exactly. Like even if it's not that technical, I still feel like if you're contributing in some way,
there's so much out there.
There's so much out there, and it's just a really easy way to kind of like give back and just share cool stuff with you.
Yeah. So to close us off, to keep the video short, what type of questions should the Shakers ask you guys?
Well, I would say I've kind of carved myself a little niche around device tracking without cookies. So I love answering those questions. So what is the next generation of internet tracking when there's 50 billion devices online, which is by 2020? So that's what I've specialized all my answers on. So it's an interesting thing. It's super niche, but at the same time, they will pop up, those questions, and I'm going to be the one that answers them. So if you have questions, ask them and I'll answer.
Now hold on. I'm sorry, Mike. I have a question for you, Nawar.
Sure.
When I heard your co-founder pitching at Pitches and Pictures at Galvanize in Boulder, he just said you were the genius. You ever run Quora, never run the internet. You're the expert. How did you learn so much about this topic?
I just deep dive. I would say that would be, like, to use a simple phrase, it'd be called deep diving. I just deep dived heavily into the subject matter. I read Quora, I read different research projects. I literally, it's funny, I remember when I was going to school, people would be like, oh, who reads past the first page on Google? I've always been the person that goes literally to the very end of the search engine, going through every single source and reading every single bit of information. And so by then just grabbing every single piece of information and combining it in unique ways, you begin to learn different things.
Yeah, and then you guys are doing tracking without cookies, right? So that provides like a tremendous value to bigger brands. Could you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, so like cybersecurity company. So for instance, everything on the internet, especially with all these devices coming online, in the next, 1 month and 45 days, there's going to be 5 billion consumer devices online. And by 2020, according to Google, there's going to be 50 billion online. So that's pretty crazy, right? So there's this tremendous growth rate. And today, what companies do is they drop cookies, and that's because, like, if you go back to 1995, they used to have big old towers, right? So if you round it up, a consumer might own a single computer.
Yeah.
That was 1995. Now the average consumer owns 4 devices.
Wow.
And that number just keeps increasing as time goes on. So what happens is we used to drop cookies and that used to work, but now that everyone has multiple devices, you can't use cookies to actually know anything because you're just guessing all the time.
Yeah.
And so if you switch devices, current analytics say that that's a new person. And if you switch browsers, it says you're a new person.
Yeah.
So what we can do, for instance, is using our technology, we just allow, let's say, analytics companies to immediately know it's the same person, so they always show you the right content that you care about. And for cybersecurity companies, instead of dropping cookies or using simple things like IP addresses and things like this, all of that can be tampered with and broken in. Then they use our tracking technology or our recognition technology to prevent fraud across the internet, across the world. So it's like, then we're helping out a number of different industries, and it turns out all these industries, I didn't even know this until later, but all these industries use recognition on the internet to provide their foundational services, and so we're just that.
Fascinating. So if we want to find your company online, where can we find you? And could you spell it out?
Yeah, it's Augur, so Augur as in AUGUR, and the site or the domain is augur.io, so AUGUR.io.
It's like the go-to for developer stuff.
Yeah. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Just before, like, IO was just kind of coming out. Input, output. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I hear Google just made it so IO is equivalent to .com now.
Whoa,
So it's
really? You got to forward me that article.
not
I'm
gonna
gonna
work.
go.
.me is that?
.me. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention.
Wow.
to .me.
Yeah.
Shakers, give me a tweet if you want to hear that article, because I'm going to be asking Nawar for it afterwards. Mike, what type of questions should we ask you on Quora?
To be honest, I'm definitely not as much of a domain expert as Nawar is. The specific like cybersecurity things and so on and so forth. If you don't know.
It's fun.
Yeah.
You're a nerd.
Yeah, I found the topics that generally resonate the most and that I get the most traction on are when somebody has like a specific question and they want just brutal honesty. That's kind of like my mantra, I guess, in a lot of ways. You know, I try to like be brutally honest. Like somebody wrote about how their question was that somebody working at their company was recently just had a child, and so they were considering, you know, because their life had changed. They were considering, you know, what should I do with this person? Like they're considering like firing them, so on and so forth. And so I basically, you know, I wrote, you know, I took something that was super applicable to that, and you know, kind of like repurposed it for that, and you know, just talked about how like startup life and that idea that you need to be working like 80, 90, 100-hour weeks is so
false.
It's so fundamentally bullshit, and most people still don't adhere to that, and most people just still don't like believe that. You know, you look at any of the big tech companies, and so basically any topic like that kind of requires any like brutal honesty. You know, how do I work hard? How do I motivate myself? How do I like get over this like crippling depression?
How
and
do I remain
self-doubt?
honest and authentic in all moments?
Yeah, how do I be more honest? Things like that. I feel like I've kind of carved out a niche there, and it, you know, really resonates with us.
Yeah, there it is, Shakers. If you want honesty on a topic, ask Mike. And they can find you guys just by searching for your names, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
That's how Quora works. So.
Could you guys tell them your names?
Mike.
My name is Nawar, like Pinot Noir or Film Noir.
But that's not how you spell it.
Oh, that's what it's spelled like on Quora and Facebook.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that's smart.
I got it as a nickname.
That's why I couldn't find you on Quora.
Well, there you go.
So,
I should.
I actually have 2 Quora accounts. That's a different thing.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Okay.
We know about
And I'm under Mike or Michael Kilcoyne, and that's just put it in the show.
You guys' businesses are kicking ass, and you got all this personal brand all over the freaking.
You know what's funny? So the founder of Quora, the investors of Quora were talking about my company with the founder of Quora.
No way.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then they were like,
Niche.
oh, they could do this crazy stuff, and the founder of Quora was like, nah. So I was like, you'll see.
Yeah. It's like, and then you responded like you wrote your own question. You were like, can they do this? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right,
and
cool.
You're like, fuck yeah, we can.
Cool, Shakers. Well, get on Quora, connect with us. Nawar, Mike, Handshakin. Wait. Oh, I'm just as guilty as you guys. I'm Matt Holmes on Quora. I'm not Handshakin.
Get on
It's
Quora.
an
Like,
alias.
Get
It's
up.
an alias.
It is.
Honestly, like one of the biggest reasons to get on Quora is because Facebook is like just full of bullshit from your dumb friends that suck. Like Quora, no, I mean that includes me. Quora, I feel like is full of just great, just valuable information. Even if you're not like 100% in tune with that topic, I feel like you can still get a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had people from like different parts. I've had people from China to different parts of the world message me, asking me questions.
Oh,
and
totally.
I'm always happy to always like answer them too.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like it's actually the same way. So I could go and message, I don't know, I guess you're saying Jimmy Wales or whatever. I could just message someone and ask them a question, and that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, no, it's
Take that,
really
Twitter.
Yeah.
His
Quora.
2015.
I mean, I still love Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter's
Twitter
great
and
too.
Quora.
Twitter handles.
Oh, I don't really use Twitter anymore. I'm now at Augur.
Follow the company
Yeah.
at Augur.
Yeah.
Just 5 letters.
AUGUR.